Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Propagandacast news section with me, your host, Imperial Dane. Today's news, the spring update, specifically the balance preview, but without an actual balance preview sort of to actually test out, just discuss, which you can do here. And certainly that bit of no actual ability to test it does sound slightly curious, in particular considering the last patch, while we did have that, they didn't actually listen a lot to the feedback, so there's certainly some worries about here, particularly sort of look at some of the changes. But overall, let's go through them first. General changes, change over squad moves and movement their formations. Seems to have been a lot of issues with that, so they basically just in many cases removed it, so now infantry will perform more similar in some ways, at least sort of formation wise. Overcommerce medic kits now basically work as AoE ones, you just grab it, everyone gets healed, lasts longer, and also now costs more munitions. But also makes you just more of an actual thing, so you don't have to go for the battle group headquarters, I suppose. Cluster bombs made slightly less lethal. Commando doctrine assault ability now basically just provides a damage bonus. It's cheaper, but at the same time it takes longer to recharge. Smoke rate more faster to activate, and stand fast has been replaced with sapper flamethrowers. So if you already like sapper flamethrowers in doctrines, you're gonna love it even more. If not, the opposite. Hold down basically loses all of its offensive bonuses, but comes fastest up. Problem is, without the offensive bonuses, it's really bad. So I don't think it's going to see any use. This pretty much just removes the doctrine entirely, anyone ability entirely, which is just a shame. Stun grenades now do 5 damage. I can live with that. And then there's a lot of population changes. Hard to say what direction they're going in, but a bunch of them do seem to be nerfs. So it's a bit difficult to say specifically which ones. So I'm less sure about that. Moving on, mortars basically become better versus buildings. Huzzah! Which is something there. But overall, they're making changes to a bunch of mortars. Wehrmacht mortars now overall shoot slower, which, but they of course become more overall. Also, most mortars now gain a bonus accuracy for the barrages that actually finish the range. So that's also something worth keeping in mind. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of nerfing the Wehrmacht mortar like that. I mean, you are fighting usually against larger squads, so having been more useful is in the sense that, thing there, to help compensate for you having smaller squads in a lot of cases. So this could be a bit of an issue, similar to the Wehrmacht mortar after, I guess. It does become cheaper. USF mortar after and USF mortar basically gets the same deal. In essence, that buffs the USF mortar, which I'm not entirely sure I'm a big fan of. And the pack cards basically gets buffed as well. Mortar emplacement for the Brits slightly changed up. They're cheaper, but less fast barrages, which I guess is nice. So mortars basically get the same deal. Heavy mortar though actually gets one less squad member, which is something. And the Oberkommanders Lactis Infanteriegeschütz basically gets buffed, more AoE and the rest. So that one actually benefits a lot from it. Snipers, this is another big one. Gets a nerf. They become easier to kill. Basically, more easy to get on the first place because they lose some of the retreat bonuses there, which was one of the big issues. They also now take longer to shoot. They had to have an aim time increase from 1 to 1.5, meaning they do take some time. I mean, they can't as easily deal with pursuits with them. They usually just shoot, move. And this actually makes it easier to counter them. Of course, they now can deal with garrisons better, but that's fair enough in compensation. Plus, light vehicles now get a 1.5 accuracy bonus versus them. So these two things combined means snipers are going to be a lot easier to kill. This is big. Moving on. Both Panthers are being standardized in reload and accuracy to improve performance. The health bonus at Veto 2 has been shifted to the unit's stock performance to improve its survivability against tank destroyers. Now possibly in its best spot yet. You're not fooling anyone, Relic. Like, if you have to add it in bold, that really shows A, you're nervous, and B, you're not actually believing in this yourself. This is all the sort of stuff, someone who's clearly lying is trying to convince others. Oh, this is totally fine. It's an amazing spot. Except no one's really using it in a lot of cases because Panzer IVs are in most cases better. And this isn't really going to change it so far a lot. Like, it costs more now. It gets a slight accuracy increase at veteran range. It now starts out tough and nice, except its armor now means less, which means the health essentially also means less. Its Veteran 2 bonus now a slight increase to armor bonus, which then puts it almost at 300 armor, which is nice, I guess. I mean, the biggest win is actually the Oberkommanders Panther. It now just shoots faster. Like, it has the same rate of fire as the Wehrmacht Panther, but is at the same time faster accessible, which is the big one. Plus, it has more veterancy bonuses. So really, the Oberkommanders Panther is the big winner here. The Wehrmacht Panther just gets another kick in the groin. Like, again, now possibly in its best spot yet. Yes, if you're not the Wehrmacht, then it's in its best spot yet. Particularly the Allies playing against the Wehrmacht, it's in the best spot yet because it's no good. Or it might be good, but it's not in its best spot yet at all for the Wehrmacht. For the Oberkommandowest, now you can actually sort of more successfully rush it out. It's harder to kill, it does more damage, and it can take more advantage of its, bonuses. So, I mean, for the Oberkommandowest Panther, this is amazing. Nothing short of amazing. This is great. Wehrmacht Panther, it's the opposite. Like, again, the problem is Wehrmacht's tier 4 is not very good. And this changes nothing about it. Like, they need to give the Wehrmacht Panther something more, some more abilities or something. Like, give it a better blitzkrieg or something else. But there needs to be something else there for the Wehrmacht Panther to be good or to possibly be in its best spot, because otherwise this is just straight up, malarkey, baloney, nonsense. Like, this again is just, someone who's desperately trying to convince themselves they're doing the right thing while clearly doing the opposite. But again, Oberkommandowest, like, I'm pretty sure most Oberkommandowest players are just going to have 2 thumbs up from now on, because again, their Panthers just became a lot better while still being a lot more accessible than the Wehrmacht Panthers. That's just 2 thumbs up. Again, Wehrmacht though, 2 thumbs down. Like, if it was an emperor in the Roman Colosseum, someone would, be fed to the lions for this. I'm not, though. We're not in a Colosseum. I don't have any lions, and most have a cat named Rasputin, who's a bit fluffy, but he doesn't eat people. He's too nice for that. But moving on. 2-2 armored cart, slightly less manpower costs, but on the other hand, more armor, which on top of the sniper buffs, or counter sniper buffs, makes it more useful. It might seem more useful now alongside the Panzer grenades and have smoke grenades, though I'm slightly more concerned with the buffs to the Panzer. Basically now, 2 Panzer Strikes and the Panzer grenades cost the same as 2 bazookas on anything else. Though, of course, you have to get the 300 manpower squad there for it, so I suppose sort of makes it up for it. And then they also can become more accurate at range, so I'm not entirely sure this is going to work out. In particular, this could lead to Panzer Strike spam again, so I'm a bit leery about that. But all these 2 together might make Wehrmacht tier 2 slightly more useful. Currently, again, the main thing is you just skip it and go for tier 3. This might help with it, but then again, it might not. It's hard to say that. It's actually really hard, and there's still nothing for the 215.5 deck. The nerfing the Sturmpanzer, which just makes, Wehrmacht tier 4 less valuable. Again, they're doing nothing to make Wehrmacht tier 4 more useful. Again, big problem with the patch and the last series of patches. Like, they need something for the Wehrmacht tier 4 to be worth it, and this is not helping. Command Panzer 4 now gets its damage reduction bonus lowered even further. I mean, at this stage, as I'm always saying, they're going to keep nerfing stuff, give it some abilities to compensate, because this isn't making sense. Like, give it some marked target abilities or an ability to call in artillery or something. Like, if you're just going to keep just making its abilities useless, give it something else you're more happy for it to have. Like, mark target, or the ability to like temporarily boost another unit, calling in artillery, calling in smoke, calling in air support, something. Or change its damage reduction bonus to like some sort of other bonus that might be more palatable. Maybe increase the damage of nearby units, or the accuracy, or the rate of fire. Like, there's a lot of ways to do this. I just don't feel like the way it's currently doing it is the right way. And then we get to the StuG. We feel the StuG strong DPSC C damage per second Canada, I don't know, is disproportionate to its cost. This combination of high rate of fire, strong armor, and did he want to say and strong armor? At which point the second question is, since when did the StuG have strong armor? Make the unit overperform in certain situations, especially when produced in numbers. Well, most units tend to be good in numbers, particularly Wehrmacht units, because you have to get them in numbers. Like, you can't just get one StuG, you have to get more than one. To improve counterplay, like, you get anti-tank and flank them. Like, this always, the following changes have been made. Reload delay at veteran 0 increased by 1.5 seconds. Basically meaning it takes longer to shoot, so you're basically further forced to spam it. Again, considering one of the previous patches, you're going to try and counter spam. This only makes spam more necessary. Like, you really can't get away with just one StuG now. And like, counterplay, like, it has no armor. Like, that's one of the things. It has no armor. You have to get a bunch of them. And, like, they can still just attack it on to get into tank guns. Like, what counterplay is that just now drive straight at it and just ignore its damage? Like, this just feels completely out of place. Like, if you want, to say there's strong armor, give it strong armor, Relic. Buff its armor. I'm be more than happy to see that, you know. Give it something to compensate with, because this just seems completely out of place. Completely out of place. This just seems like it's pulled out of thin air, like, you know, they had a bad dream and, you know, oh no, we need to buff the StuG, because in my dream the StuG fired every 2 seconds and it had 300 armor. Whew, good thing we can nerf things based on my dreams. Like, this just seems completely just fantastical. I don't know where they got it from. Like, they need to explain this one more. This just doesn't make sense. This just isn't okay. This just seems completely just blah. And you've got more nerfs to the Soviet sniper. Now one-man team, also shoots slower overall. Again, just basically sort of ensure they can't be spammed. Good. Katyusha now have a slight increase in delay between the volleys, so basically less level to just wipe stuff immediately. Conscripts go from 3 to 2 PPS hits. 41s, I'm not a big fan of that one. Like, they should just nerf its output a bit, enough nerf the conscripts a bit again. Just this one just seems weird. Now they only got 2 submachine guns, which just seems really weird. Not a fan of this one. Not a fan of this one. H-6 getting nerfed, that's good. In particular, the penetration, like, again, they were quite spammable again. Of course, they're also great versus heavy armor. Now they are less great against heavy armor, which is fair enough. I mean, now the Panther might have a slight chance with it, but it's similar to the Tiger. That's good. That's good. Though, of course, now completely hard counter the StuG, because now the StuG can't match its rate and fire, and again, the H-6 can still just hard counter most medium armor. In fact, at max range, its penetration can still easily penetrate the StuG's armor. Like, again, the StuG does not have good armor. I repeat, the StuG does not have good armor. Even at Vetchi 2, where it gains a slight armor bonus, it still would have more armor than a Panzer 4 at Vetchi 0. Like, this, yeah. HD5 focus out ability is slightly changed. It has a delay before it activates, and then a delay before the penalty wears off. So, I suppose it requires a bit more setup and a bit more skill, so it can't just be easily, you know, used for that. Penal troop all of the anti-tank rifles for the Soviets basically now have less deflection damage. This is good. You can't just ping away at tanks. Satchel anti-tank charge basically now has less range. Good. Penal troop now require more population, more command points. Good. ISU has less, well, more scatter, so it can't just easily wipe stuff. Good. Big change. IL-2 now does less damage. Great, because it could easily wipe stuff before. It should hopefully do it less so. Tank Hunter Doctrine, not sure what that's not with the other doctrine changes, but basically now has the B4 instead of the howitzer. That's an interesting one. And finally, of the axis anyways, Oberkommand West. Less fuel to start with. Incendiary Grenade now across the structure again. Stun Grenade down to 5 damage. Doom Tiger less stun. Mechanized Regiment is cheaper. Luke's now faster to build. A flat half track, overall less suppression, and also more cost to smoke. Overall good change along with the Panther. I mean, overall this is good stuff for the Oberkommando West. I mean, these are good changes for the Oberkommando West. For the Wehrmacht, things don't particularly make a lot of sense. For the Brits, the overall now the ability costs more fuel to unlock, including a bolster, but they cost less manpower. Less a fan of that. On the other hand, bolsters no longer applies to the anti-tank infantry section. That's good. Infantry section by an also slow to grab territory. That's nice. And they received accuracy bonus just shifted towards Veteran 3 from Veteran 2, so they were still kind of bulletproof. It's just more Veteran 3 like. This isn't really a nerf, and which is what they really needed. And then they also nerfed the Bren guns, which basically means just blocking up it's going to be less effective. In particular, you can't just run a machine gun and just begin wiping it out. This is a pretty big change, and this is definitely good. This is definitely good. Like, in particular, mid-range, like, there's a big drop here by like 10%. This is really big. This is going to... I mean, it does cost less munitions, but this is going to really make just Bren blobs a lot less effective. So this is good. Piets, more range. Sappers, cheaper. Vickers, cheaper. More suppression rated 2. But also at the same time, less amazing bonuses Veterans 1. This is alright. Anti-tank rifle sections, less range than anti-tank grenades, and can no longer be upgraded. The universal care becomes more destroyable, but the tank also costs more fuel but less manpower, has more health, and the wasp becomes also slightly toned down. Good stuff. Half track there now requires upgrades for it to drop weapons. Cromwell becomes cheaper. We'll have to see about that. And the Tret shot basically sort of gets changed to target ability again, and also gets buffed. The Centaur gets nerfed. Fantastic. AVRE. Let's set up there. Or he's done there. 6-pounder gun now is only extra accurate versus light vehicles. Basically doesn't hammer heavy armor as good, much as possible, which is nice. And then finally the USF, who barely gets anything done to them. Basically, sprint is lost in the 50 caliber, gains less action immediately, but gains it back on Veterans 1, if not a bit more. P-47 gets nerfed. good. Greyhound does less damage overall, but has more AoE, so it's better versus infantry. And the Jackson basically gets a slap on the wrist with slightly less accuracy, range, and slightly less sight. But considering between large team games, they just moved behind an American blob with BARs and the likes here. This isn't really going to change a lot there. Essentially, like in 1 versus 1, there's going to be a slight difference there. I think we can operate less independently, but overall, this is not going to make a massive difference, I think. And there's still like no change to the rifle, which I really think is something they need to do. And they also need to be a bit harsher than the infantry section. Like this, like that's definitely some things lacking there. I mean, overall, a lot of good stuff, but there's also some things again that just don't make a spit of sense. And again, Sturmpanzer, StuG, and Panther changes just don't add up. Like, as far as I'm concerned, like they're just making Tier 4 worse again for the Wehrmacht, which they still need to do the opposite. Like this is just complete madness. And the StuG, what armor? Like again, it just seems completely random and out of nowhere. Sure, if you want to nerf the rate of fire, be my guest, but give it something else to compensate, because really the StuG is one of the few things the Wehrmacht are going for. In particular, if you spam a lot of armor, you otherwise cannot match the numbers in any reasonable way. This is just not going to help. Like, at least give it some armor then. Give it some armor, relic. At least, if you're going to claim it's got armor, give it armor. Like, at least then we can agree that it needs to reduce in accuracy. If you just say, all right, now it's got like 180 armor, 190 armor, great. Then eventually 2 bonus also becomes more useful, and then we're all happy. I mean, I'd be fine with that. I'd be happy with that. But again, we're not getting it, are we? So like, there's clearly some bits with the Wehrmacht. Again, it just does not add up remotely. I mean, again, basically my suggestions would be give the Wehrmacht Panther something extra, either better blitzkrieg ability or something else. StuG, give it more armor. And for the command tank, just give it something else from the Sturmpanzer. I don't know. Smoke maybe? Or I don't know. Add something else. Make it cheaper. I don't know, this just seems a bit much. But again, overall, a good patch in many ways. But again, the Wehrmacht stuff just doesn't add up. And the Americans, they need to be hit a bit harder. This is just silly. Like, again, nothing to the rifle, I think, is definitely not good. They are definitely overperforming in my optics. And there needs to be either nerf to the rifle directly, or there needs to be a nerf to the bars. A bit similar to what the Brits got with their Bren guns. So, there you go. This is the Propagandacast news signing off. Hopefully you enjoyed this little new segment. Which change do you like? Which do you not like? And what would you like to see changed? Which do not get changed? Sound off in the comments. This is Imperial signing off. Another time for another video. Cheers, everybody.